Hey guys, this is Stephanie and I am Stacks on Stacks on Stacks. Today I'm coming to you with my February wrap up. I have a little bit of a cold going on. It's not really a cold, just a scratchy throat. So I have my tea here with me. It's my Wicked mug. I don't know where I got this. I think my brother-in-law got it for me maybe. It says, "Don't make me call the flying monkeys." So I'm not sure what he's trying to say about me, but I do like the mug. So I have two different things going on today. I'm sure you guys have noticed. One, I changed my lights. They are purple now. I think I like them. I'm trying to decide if I need to change them because I feel like they look white. Maybe they'll look purple when I'm done filming, but I think they look white right now. Also, I got some red put in my hair and I'm a little sad it's not showing up as vibrantly as it does like in real life. So I don't know. I'll just have to find another way to show you guys. So this month I actually got 9 books read, which was pretty good. I wasn't in a reading mood for quite a bit of the month. Like the first few weeks, I think the first 2 weeks I was like, yeah, and I read like 5 books. And then I didn't read for like a week, maybe 9 days. I just didn't read anything. And then the last 3 days of the month, I was like, oh yeah, I should read something. So it was kind of an odd reading month. And I know it's a short month, but it didn't feel short to me. I don't know why. So last month I had a video where my husband picked some books for me to read for my TBR. He picked 9 books. I was supposed to read 4 of those 9 books and I failed. Is anybody surprised? No. I'm such a mood reader. Some of those books, just getting through them, I was just like, ugh. So I'm going to try, I got 3 read of the 4. So I'm going to try and read 2 more of his that he chose next month to kind of make up for the fact that I didn't really get it read and so on. So I'm going to talk about those 3 books first. The first one is Temeraire in Service of the King by Naomi Novik. Now this is actually, I found out as I started reading, 3 books in one. So I read the first of the 3. The first one is called His Majesty's Dragon. Personally, I gave it like a 2.1 and technically a 3.0. It just was so slow and it was very character developy. It's about a dragon. So it's British and this guy is in the British Navy and he gets chosen to like, okay, when this dragon egg hatches, you are the one who's going to be in charge of the dragon. So it's all about him and this dragon and their relationship. And I mean, I'm all about character driven, but literally nothing happened until like the last 20 pages of the book. I was like, seriously? So I didn't love it. I don't think I'm going to continue reading it. I don't even know if I'm going to keep the book because I'm not going to read this. And I didn't like it. And I felt a little bit bad. And then I asked my husband, I'm like, did you even read this book? And he's like, yeah, I read it a long time ago. I'm like, it is so slow. Yeah, I know. And I'm like, why would you pick a terrible book? Anyway, I gave it a 2.1. I didn't like it. Technically, it wasn't terrible, so I gave it a 3.0 because it did have some good character development, but so slow. The next one I read off his list was A Whole New World, A Twisted Tale by Liz Braswell. Now, this is an Aladdin retelling. The tagline is, what if Aladdin had never found the lamp? So what's funny to me is I was reading this, and it is like word for word, scene for scene of the Disney movie, which I saw a ton when I was a kid. I practically had half of it memorized. So the fact that it's like verbatim up until the point he gets to the Cave of Wonders, I was like, so are they just retelling the Disney version of this? I don't understand. I was a little confused and a little underwhelmed. And then the whole point is he doesn't get the lamps. The cave closes on him and Jafar gets the lamp. There's not really a big spoil there. It's on the cover. I give this a 3.0. Like it was fine. I kind of liked that they went the different route and they didn't just do the cartoon word for word. I liked that they kind of explored what would have happened if Jafar had gotten the lamp. And there was a little bit of dark in there too. It wasn't all like Disney rated G stuff. But technically I gave it a 2.7. I felt the writing was still kind of elementary. She really used quite a few of the same phrases over and over and over. And I don't know. I was a little underwhelmed by it. I will probably read other Liz Braswell's and give other ones a chance just because I do like retellings. But I'm not 100% sure. I mean, if I don't like the next one, I probably won't read her books anymore. Just because it was kiddish in a lot of ways. And Then in other ways, it was like, oh, they're killing people, like really killing people. So I don't know. I was just okay with it. And maybe because I wasn't in the mood, I didn't love it, but it was fine. Now, the third book I read of Mark's was Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, and I did like this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars personally and 5 out of 5 stars technically. It was a really good wrap up to Six of Crows. I think going into this, I wasn't sure what to expect because I really enjoyed Six of Crows. It was very, very hyped, so I was actually expecting to not like it a ton, but it actually was pretty good. I felt like she really kept the characters who they were. She kept the interest alive, and she came up with a new plot with the same group of characters for the second book, and it wasn't like, it's the same thing with a twist. It was a completely different story, and I liked that. I liked it a lot. I think that she's a great writer. I think I should read more of her books because everything I've read by her, I have loved. So I think I will do more of that. Now, this is the second one in a series, so we'll not be talking about it a whole lot because I don't want to give things away. But Six of Crows, the first book in the series, is about 6 people who are somewhat unsavory who go to do a heist for a reason. You get to see their perspective and everything, and you get to see the heist, how it goes down, and all the steps leading up to organizing the heist. And honestly, after reading the second one, it put me in the heist mood, so I watched like Oceans 11, 12, and 13, even though they're not as good, and The Italian Job. And then I got excited for the Oceans 8, I think, that's coming out this summer. I was like, I want it to come now, but I'll wait. So this one was a great one. I was excited. I read it, but that was it. Those are the only 3 that I read off his list. So like I said, I'm going to try to do 2 off of that list next month. Now, the first book that I did finish this month was If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. And I believe this is her debut novel. I got it from my library. And I liked this book. I gave it a 4.2 personally and a 4.5 technically. Basically, this is about a group of students that are in college, and they're going to a Shakespeare performing arts school somewhere in Illinois, I believe. These are the actors, and there's 7 of them, and they kind of all live in a house together. And so you have 7 characters, and we are following Oliver. And actually, all your characters you get to know fairly well. There's quite a few that are like, oh, she never talks about her past. We don't know where she's from, actually, and little things like that. But you know each character. Like, you have a grasp on them. They're all very strongly written, which I like. And then it has a very mysterious plot driving you through. The book starts out with our main character, Oliver's getting out of prison. He's been in prison for 10 years, and we don't know why. He's actually meeting up with a man who was a detective for the reason he got put in jail, but now is going into personal practice. So he basically just wants to know what really happened. So it's kind of something happened. It starts from the beginning though, and it goes through their senior year of college. But it really did keep me guessing a lot, and I did enjoy the ride. I didn't love the ending. I actually found it a little bit weak. Like, I just wanted a little extra something. I don't know what I would have done differently. But all in all, though, it was a great book. If you like strong characters, you will enjoy this book. Now, one of the reasons I probably enjoyed this was because I did acting in high school, and I guess I still do acting now, but I've never been into Shakespeare. So I did enjoy the formalness of Shakespeare, and it kind of actually, I think, gave me a better appreciation for him as well. And these people are so into it. They don't just act Shakespeare. Like, when they're walking around having conversations with each other, they're just throwing those prose in there, just an everyday conversation. And I was like, at first I'm like, that's kind of weird. Now I'm like, that was kind of fun. So one of the things I did enjoy about the book technically was, instead of like chapter 1, chapter 2, it was scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, 4, 5. And then, like, instead of having like book 1, whatever, book 2 within the book, it was act 1, scene 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, act 2 and act 3. And I mean, anybody who's done theater knows, the big thing is in the third act. So it's kind of fun. And then they also had, this isn't a great example, but like when they have lines, sometimes she would default to like how it is if you're actually reading like a script. Like, so it says, James, semicolon, nay, that is not so. Alexander, semicolon. And And then it has like the narration between them. But this was really fun. I want to say this was recommended to me by Christy Yoder. Thank you for the recommendation. It was really fun. I did go into this book blind. I honestly had no idea what it was about, but I think that's part of what made it good, was watching the events unfold that way. I loved all the theater aspects of it. Again, that's something I identified with. So I then picked up The Readers of Broken Wheel Recommend by Katrina Bivald, and I forget who recommended this one to me. It's been a while. It's been on my TBR shelf for a long while. But basically, we are following our main character, Sarah, and she is from Sweden. And she works at a bookstore in Sweden, and she sends a book to somebody in Broken Wheel, Iowa. And that woman sends a book back to her, like a different book, and is like, yeah, try this book. And she's like, oh, I want to pay you for it. She's like, you can't pay me for it. So she sends her book. And they kind of become friends and pen pals by sending books back and forth. So the lady she's swapping books with is an elderly lady who lives in Iowa, and she's from Sweden, and she's very quiet, introverted. She's not good at like speaking up and talking for herself and things like that. She's good at reading and getting lost in books is what she's good at. And she doesn't have a lot of direction in her life. So she decides that she's going to take a trip to America and see Amy. And Amy's like, that's great. You can stay with me in my tiny town. Now, in these letters Amy's been sending her, she tells her all about everybody in the town. And anybody who's lived in a small town, you know, there's a lot of small town gossip. So it's kind of fun because Sarah feels like she knows everybody in the town and nobody knows her, of course, because she lives in Sweden. So she shows up and she gets to Broken Wheel and she goes to Amy's house, and there's a funeral going on. Amy has died. So Sarah's like, well, I can't leave. My plane ticket isn't for like, you know, I think 3 months or something like that. She decides to stay in the town because she feels like she knows people in the town are just trying to be welcoming and kind like Amy would be. And it's kind of funny because I don't know, I've been around a lot of small towns and I know how that goes. So it really did sound like a small town. I love that she reads the books, and the books that she reads, a lot of classic, a lot of newer books. She talks about a lot of books in here. I will say there are a few books that I haven't read given they're classics, and she completely 100% spoils them. She tells you the end, everything that's happening. Oh, this character's so dumb. She does this thing and this thing happened at the end and she didn't even see it coming. And I'm like, well, I'll see it when I finally get around to reading it. Thanks. So I was less than amused about that, but I mean, these books are old, so I guess spoilers are bound to happen. I did enjoy this. It did have some slow bits, and it definitely had more romance than I was expecting. When it was originally pitched to me, kind of like I told you, nobody said anything about romance, and there is romance in it. There's a romance interest, and romance ensues, and I was kind of like, eh. And then they kind of tied that in and made it more of a central part of it, and I was like, get back to the books. I like the books part. So it was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I just needed a bit of a palate cleanser before I hopped on to my next book, and it did do that for me. The next book I read was The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Now, this is an ugly cover, so I'm not going to bother letting you look at it closer. It's the movie they made in like 2002, which wasn't even a good movie. The movie they made in 1960 was a good movie. I mean, it's cheesy because it's from the 60s, but it's pretty close to the original story. So this book was written in like 1950, late 50s, 57, 58, something like that. And it is small, it is short. It's like 140 pages or so. And basically our main character doesn't even have a name in it. He is just called the Time Traveler. The whole book, they call him the Time Traveler. This takes place turn of the century 1900s. Like I think it takes place 1899. This man has invented a time machine, and he tells his friends, and he's like, guys, I have this time machine. So he has this itty bitty one, and he's like, watch, it's going to disappear because I'm going to send it into the future. And so it disappears. And they're like, well, that could be a parlor trick, and they don't really believe him. Well, the one nice guy does believe him, and he's like, you know, why don't you come back with me tonight? Because he's like, he's gonna, you know, go get lost in time or something like that. But he excuses himself and he decides to go on a little trip anyways. Super interesting, and it's a quick read. It's a classic. So this is a book that everybody should read. It was really good. He gets a little wordy sometimes, but I still enjoyed it. I still really, really enjoyed it. If you want to watch the 1960 version, it is a lot more accurate. And I gave The Time Machine a 4.2 personally. I did enjoy it. And a 3.0 technically. It does have some slow parts. The next book that I read this month was Seconds, a graphic novel by Brian Lee O'Malley. He's the guy who did Scott Pilgrim. Now, I enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4.5 personally and a 4.0 technically. I enjoyed it. I wasn't sure what to expect from it. You can kind of see the cartoon style a little bit there, the drawing style. I liked that as well. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed our main character. Basically, our main character is Kate, and she is a chef, and she started a restaurant called Seconds. And then now she is getting ready to open a second restaurant that'll be all her. This one she had a business partner for, and it's kind of become more his thing. And now she's going to start this other restaurant. It's going to be everything she ever wanted. And the biggest thing in Kate's life is she has regrets. She has things she's done and she wishes she wouldn't have done, and things she said to people that she wishes she could take back, and just situations she's in and she's like, I wish I wasn't in this situation. Well, she kind of finds a way to see what it would be like to undo small things that she has done. Take words back, not make that decision, things like that. And she basically gets a couple second chances, and it's what she does with that. And I think I like it because it's not like, and she takes it back and everything is perfect. It really deals with what it would be like if we were actually in that situation. Like if we had a chance to take something back, the repercussions of that situation. And I kind of like that. Like it's, you know, a graphic novel, so it's like a cartoon, yet it's like reality too. I really liked it. And it has like a little small supernatural twist to it. And I was like, I like this book. I want to buy it. This is a library copy and it's kind of a weird one at that. But I'm going to look for this and buy it because I really, really, really did like it. The next one I read is Sparkling Cyanide by Agatha Christie, and I didn't own this one, so I got it from the library. Now, my niece watched one of my reviews, and she's like, you loved Agatha Christie. So I went to the library and asked for Agatha Christie, and this is the only Agatha Christie they had. So I got it, and I took it home, and I sat down and I just read the whole thing because it was so great. You're right, she's so great. And I'm like, I know. Have you read it? I want to talk about it. I'm like, no. I haven't read it yet. So I went to the library and I got it and I read it real quick. It is a very, very, very quick read. It is just another great Agatha Christie. Basically, the book opens with a gal named Rosemary who has just killed herself, and you have like some perspective from multiple people, but the first perspective you have is from her younger sister, who kind of idolized her sister a bit. She wasn't like mean about it, but she was just like, oh, my sister's so great and she was so perfect and I don't know why she'd want to kill herself. It just doesn't make sense, and I just love her and I miss her, and she's like legit a nice person. And then we get the view from her sister's husband, and then we find out that she had a lover or two or maybe more, and then you have a view, and then somebody writes the husband a letter that says, hey, that was no suicide. She was murdered. So then the husband's like, okay, I'm going to put things together and I'm going to find the murderer. But never at any time are you like, but the murderer couldn't be him. You think it could be him. Or maybe it is his sister. Maybe she's not as sweet as she seems. Like, that's the thing with Agatha Christie. She always has you second guessing who it could be. Could it be one of the guys who she was cheating with? Could it be his wife? Could it be his mother-in-law? Could it be like, you never know. Every character you meet, you're like, well, they're either going to die or they did it. And that's one of the things she's just amazing about that. I gave it 5 stars because I loved it, and I probably will buy it soon. And I gave it 5 stars personally and 5 stars technically. It was fantastic. And I'm not going to tell you what happens. You'll have to read it. And the last book I read this month was The Disappearances by Emily Brain Murphy. Now, this one has been on my TBR for a while. I think I got it in a book box, but it sounded really, really interesting. Basically, this is a book where you follow a brother and a sister during World War II. Their mother has just died, and their father is being shipped off to war. So they're actually going to live with their mother's childhood best friend, this tiny, tiny town where her mom grew up. So the older sister is Ayla, and the little brother is Miles. And basically they get to this town, and after just a few days they figure out that something is off here. And she's looking into this little pond that they have on their land, and she realizes she has no reflection. There's no reflection of her at all. Matter of fact, there's no reflection of the stars either. And then when she looks up, she sees there are no stars here, and it's not cloudy. There are just no stars here. And then she's noticing other things go missing as well. Like, she finds out that the town is cursed and that something disappears every 7 years. This was a very interesting book. I enjoyed the journey that we went on. I did like our main character, Ayla. She wasn't a stupid girl, which I really appreciated. She was a smart girl who made good decisions, and I really did enjoy this book. I enjoyed the journey. I liked the end. I gave it a 4.2 personally and a 4.5 technically. There were times I did feel like the writing was just a little bit juvenile. It is YA, so maybe that could be why. And there were a few times when the perspective was changing that I was overly confused. But all in all, I really did enjoy this book, and I think I wasn't expecting to enjoy it. Like, the premise sounded interesting, but I haven't heard much about this on BookTube, so I thought, you know, it's probably a mediocre book, and it is definitely better than mediocre. Like, I liked it, so yay. So all in all, I had a pretty good reading month. A few stinkers in there, but the vast majority were pretty good. Now we can do the Get a Hold of Your Shelf challenge. That's from Drinking by My Shelf, where I pull out a piece of paper every month that dictates a book on my TBR shelf that I need to read. Last month, I had to read a book that was published in the last 2 years, and Crooked Kingdom was published in 2016. So boom, I did that. And next month, I will read a book, a fantasy book. No problem. I can do that. I can read a fantasy book. I'm excited about this one. So that is about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I want you to comment down below if you've read any of these books, what you think of any of these books, or if one of these books reminds you of another book that you think I would like. I always like a good recommendation. Thank you again, Christy. So please feel free to like and subscribe. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, so you can usually find me here then. Again, I appreciate you guys watching. It just makes my day. I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.